Hey, what's up, man? So today we got something super special for y'all, man. So today I got OG Poed up on the scene, man. What's up, OG Poed up?
What it is, Witty. We war ready in here. All the war. We war ready.
I'm liking that, man. I'm liking that. I've been following you and seeing a lot of the things that you got going on out there in VA and Arizona and all throughout the map pretty much. But I see a large emphasis on the art of war, on the war ready. Man, are you a big do you like a lot of Robert Greene books or where does the art of war and all this come from?
Man, that was my favorite book I was reading. I was just inspired by it because basically I was at war with myself because I deal with mental health and depression. So I'm going through therapy currently right now, trying to get help.
Okay, so it's a personal journey that you use that as like not art of war, as in you actually in the field with somebody. Art of the war, which with an internal battle, you're saying, right?
Yeah, spiritual battle. That's what I'm into.
Okay, now also I see that thing that's hanging up behind you, and I see a lot of different things throughout your page and stuff like that that reference like spirituality and religion, and some of it looks like it references voodoo, man. Now, what would you like to say about any of that?
Man, that's what I'm into. Like I said, I used to get picked on when I was a kid, and now I'm the one doing the picking on now. So, what you see in the back, that's my voodoo doll, Baba. That's for protection. So I do protection spells. Celebrities come to me if they want anybody hexed, if they want me to pray on their voice. I'm in the studio with people making hits go worldwide.
That's what's up, man. Now, what made you gravitate towards voodoo and spirituality in that direction? Because a lot of people refer to those things as maybe the dark arts and things of that nature. And what this movie centers out, you're going to have a lot of people wondering about what you're talking about because there's a main character there and she's heavily into that as well. So, could you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so basically, like I said, it started off when I was a kid. I had braces on my legs, and then after I got my braces taken off my legs, I had orthopedic shoes. Now I'm perfectly normal. I can walk fine. Basically, from there, I used to get picked on when I was a kid. So when I was in middle school, I was hiding guns in the lockers, and then from there, it just made me get basically to the darker side.
Okay. Now you went from hiding guns in the lockers, more of a street kind of thing, to the more
Mhm.
spiritual and the that sort of realm of things.
Yeah, yup, that's
Interesting.
exactly what it is.
So what made that transition?
Life. I just got shitted on by everybody. Life just basically changed me. I just woke up one day and my soul felt different. I just started reading a lot of books, just getting my knowledge right. And after I got my knowledge right, I was able to obtain money and fame. I was able to work with a lot of celebrities because a lot of stuff I can't really talk about, but I'm gonna go in a little bit in depth because a lot of the stuff I signed NDAs on. So I can't give everybody name that I basically did fame for, but I can give a few names. Like I did a fame spell for Luce Cannon.
Okay. Now Luce Cannon, actually, that was like at the top of my list because
Yeah,
Luce Cannon is one of those guys that you've been associated with on Clubhouse and on a lot of these different apps and on the interview platform that you've had. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And what I've seen is you guys have a relationship where you guys one hand scratches the other. You guys have bounced off each other on Clubhouse and stuff like that. Where does that relationship with Luce Cannon begin?
Definitely. I was just a fan of his work. I hit him up because I'm like, yo, this dude definitely got hella talent. And I just like the fact that he was so raw, you know, like to me, all that shit that he did, like he was just pressing niggas in the street. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. I fuck with the energy. And that's what he told me. He told me fuck with my energy. And he was calling me every single day, and we was locking in. I was praying on his music. And then from there, me and my celebrity witches, we did a fame spell. And then we did a fame spell. He got locked up and went to jail. Then from there, his fame just took off.
That very true that his fame grew even more after he got locked up. But there's always been, some skepticism about Luce Cannon and a
Hmm.
lot of the stories that he told because there was recently a documentary that dropped from a guy by the name of Trap Lord Ross. Now, Trap Lord Ross
Hmm.
recently went on his documentary and just showed a little bit of, not even a little bit, a lot of Luce Cannon's history with being a gang member, with being, affiliated with all these different things. But kind of like you said, he still became famous. Like his fame kept rising and rising and rising. Now you attribute that to what you guys did collectively?
Yeah. So basically, what he sent me 2 songs, and what I did was actually put the music on, and then from there I did my spiritual aspect of it. Me and my celebrity witches, we basically played his music. I prayed over top of the music, and then from there, I'm pretty sure all his streams and everything went up as well. So a lot of celebrities come to me to get fame. I used to be in the background, but I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come out now because I want to pursue my stuff. Like when a lot of people get big deals, they call me, and basically I fly out the same day, and then basically they give me the money as soon as they see the results.
Okay, so this is something that you've been doing for a while.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time now. I work with a lot of people.
Now, through what generations of hip hop and music have you been working this? Like, could you tell some stories?
Hmm. Well, some of them I could tell a story about a singer. So basically, it's a male artist that y'all hear on the radio all the time. I just can't say the name because I signed the NDA. So basically, he flew me all the way to Los Angeles. Because right now, like I said, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where I reside in. So basically, he flew me all the way out. He let me know, like, hey, I got this big deal on the table. I need to make it to the Grammys. And I'm like, yo, that's cool. And from there, he put his music on. We did some rituals, and we took a blood oath together. And then from there, he got a really big deal. He signed a lot of millions, and then he gave me a lot of money for my work as soon as he seen the results.
Okay, so this seems like a thing that, a lot of people have speculated on in the music industry. There's always been like people thinking and talking about a lot of the things in the music industry as far as like hexes and spells and stuff of that nature, and then people signing their soul for a deal. Like, are you saying that this artist actually sold their soul?
Yeah, I was there. I witnessed it. I facilitated it. So people come to me when they want fame.
Now let's say that somebody sells their soul, right? And they want that fame that bad. After that's been done,
Yep.
like what happens later on in life? Like, because a lot of these stories end up sounding kind of tragic. So what would sell somebody to do that?
Desperate, being desperate. They want the world to know because, like I said, there's certain levels to everything that you want to get into. So, like I said, if you want to be top level of it, then you got to give your life up or you got to give your soul for it. You can't do this part time.
This is interesting, man, because it takes me back to that movie that's hot right now, Sinners. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now, in Scottsdale, Arizona, that's a very nice area of the Phoenix area, right? Of the greater Phoenix area. How did you find yourself there?
Man, I visited because I actually had an aunt that lived out there and my cousin that lived out there. I got into some trouble in Virginia. My best friend actually died. He got shot in his head, broad daylight. His name is 24K, and he got shot in his head, broad daylight. So then from there, I was just trying to figure out a different path because I'm like, if I keep going down this path, it's only going to lead me to death, and then I'm going to be broke. Because I lived in a small town, Bad News, VA. When I say like I'm the only one putting Virginia on, because a lot of these guys they get their money and they leave. I'm doing charity work. I'm managing artists. I'm doing a lot of different things.
Now, when it comes to being from Bad News, man, the biggest names we've ever heard from Bad News is obviously the Clips and obviously Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? That's when you first started to hear about Bad News Virginia. Now, you being from there, do you feel like there's a strong hip hop legacy you can carry on from there?
Definitely, but I feel like a lot of the culture don't want to accept the new culture. I would definitely love to work with some of the artists in Virginia. Like I've been to like Timberland Studio and stuff like that. I worked with a few people, Jay Stash, back in the day, and a few other names and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of like set in its ways where it haven't got the right exposure yet. That's what I think.
Really? Even with the Clips, even with Pharrell, even with Allen Iverson, even
Far
with
as
Mike
like
Vick?
the scene, like the music scene is there, but they all move away. Like
Ah,
nobody's really in town anymore. You don't really run into celebrities unless it's like a festival or anything like that.
true. Very true.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
true.
for
It's
sure.
like there's like Virginia's like that, North Carolina's like that. Like those areas, as soon as somebody blows up, they definitely move out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
where you have like Texas, like say Texas, there's a whole ecosystem to support those artists when they even when they fall off from being majors or whatever. You know what I mean? And so there's always a resurgence or whatnot. LA the same, Chicago the same, Atlanta the same. But when you're from like Virginia, it does seem like a feeder system to the mainstream. You know what I mean? But there's been huge artists coming from there.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, I listen to all their music. I'm a fan of all of their work. Like I fuck, I mess whatever. If it's Virginia, I'm a stamp it. But one thing about Virginia people, when you get too big, they start hating on you because that's what's happening to me. And that's why I had to move because I had too many death threats.
You were getting death threats. Why would people threatening your life?
I was talking about a club called the Alley. It's a famous club out here. So in Virginia, it's like a little country town that don't nobody really know what's going on. It's just like a church town. So from there, I made a post up. It went viral. Over 130,000 pages been reached, and then they actually flagged it online and took it off. Because I was talking about the club, the Alley. It's a little club where people get shot, they get raped, they get stabbed in there. It's just it got a bad aura about it. But we don't have anything else. So when I said that about the club, they sent me a lot of death threats about it.
So they thought you were messing with their business.
Yup, yup. Not like the people, but just like the people in the streets, because that's all they have is this one little club. And a lot of my friends that been in there, and they told me they didn't see rats walking in there. So I'm like, that's crazy.
That's crazy, man. Now
So,
I haven't personally seen that, so I can't verify that there's rats in that club or in that establishment. But
yeah.
that's if it
And
is
me
that.
neither. All of this is just allegedly.
There
So
you go.
for sure,
Yeah.
it's all allegedly. So none of this stuff is, don't take my word for law or anything like that. This is just how I feel, my personal feeling about it. So.
Now, is this part of the reason why you did your video talking about you being banned from VA?
Yeah, because a lot of people is telling me that, hey, you can't come to VA no more, and you're not welcome here no more. And I'm like, man, I'm the only one putting Virginia on. Everybody else is just working a job. I'm actually making things shake. I got a lot of celebrities shouting out the 757.
Now, the 757 is one of those area codes that I've heard several times in rap. I ain't gonna lie, man.
So,
It's one of those areas. Now,
mhm.
I hate to roll back, but I really want to delve more into your Luce Cannon affiliation. So Luce Cannon had a crew called IBM. Now, were you a part of IBM?
I was actually working with him to get tour merch. So he was basically going to help me in my career because I was going to get him to manage me at one point. And then, like I said, I just end up helping him because I'm like, it just makes more sense, because at that time he was more viral than me.
Okay, now that does make sense. Like
Yeah,
you're just helping each other up. Then when you're on, you always should be, a way for him to stay on. Like a lot of people do that, man. Everybody helping each other get to the top, and then everybody sharing the wealth once they get there. You know what I mean? Using
for
each
sure.
other for features, using each other for different things. Now, also, do you rap?
I dibble and dabble with music, but I'm managing a few artists right now. Like I said, I'm managing my wife. My wife is definitely going to take over the scene and singing. I'm pushing her right now, but I'm trying to get her a major deal. And like I said, because I don't want her to just drop independently. I want her to be taken seriously because she's a singer.
Okay.
For sure.
Now, it seems like you and Luce Cannon have a lot in common in a lot of these things, man.
For sure.
Now, when you seen Luce Cannon within the last 6 months,
Hmm.
starting to get a lot of attention. There was videos dropping that they had whooped some guys outside of No Jumper, right? That was
Hmm.
kind of the start of it. Then there
Yeah.
was a video of them whooping another guy. It looked like in Las Vegas, like on the street or whatever. it was just a lot of Luce Cannon in them streets. And a lot of people I talked to behind the scenes and on camera were showing him a lot of respect. You know, I don't know if it was out of the fact that they were in fear of him or if they was just like, you know, but as soon as he got locked up, you know, all those things came crashing down. Now, when it came to this Rolling 60 Rico, what did you think?
Man, I just thought it was crazy. It was sad because basically, like I said, he was like one of the realest ones in the industry. He would call me every day. He was never too big to not answer the phone because a lot of people, when you do things for them, they don't answer the phone anymore after you did for them, you know? So he was, you know, like I said, it was sad to me about all that. I hope he beat the case. And like I said, free Luce Cannon, you know? We wore red.
Yeah, it's looking like he'll probably get a date no matter what. Like he's not looking at a murder charge or anything like that. So you know he'll obviously be home. It's just that it's a matter of when and if he can beat the case, right? But other people in the case, like Big U, Brick Baby, it looks like maybe a longer struggle for them. Now, have you had any interactions with any of them?
Yeah, I actually work with Brick Baby. He actually posted my site when I first got, you know, discovered, allthewar.com. You know, this is my merch right here. As far as that, he posted it, you know, he showed me love and a few videos. He opened it up, liked it. And I just appreciate him just doing that, you know.
Now, what did you think about his beef with Luce Cannon?
See, I'm not too big into, you know, what they got going on. Just because most of the time I'm really into the spiritual world. But from what I see, you know, I don't know who's telling and who's not telling, but I feel like the streets is dead now. So none of that really matter anymore. It's a lie anyways. You got to trick anybody out their position to even make money. You know, why would you be loyal to a hood nigga? That's what nobody understands, you know?
You're ogpoedup. You living up to your name with that one because I don't know if people realize it, and you know maybe because I blog and I I interview people, but it seems like when it comes to the streets, the only way to move up is for you to either crash out and move somebody else out the way for somebody else to crash out and do. Where in music you really ain't got to do that. You can just wait your turn and really just provide like good music and stuff like that. And somehow these two things got convoluted. You know what I mean? And it's just like reporting to a hood and all that. It's a losing battle, man. You don't win anything from it.
And I think it's a big difference between being a gangster and a serial killer. So like I respect the serial killers. I don't respect the gangsters, you know?
What?
Like, you know, like say for example, like a serial killer, like your Jeffrey Dahmers or your Michael Myers. I respect those guys because they're gonna be who they are all the time. I feel like a lot of these guys, they putting on an act. You know, as soon as they're not around their guys anymore and they're one-on-one and you see them, it's none of that action for real.
That's most of the time, man, because not everybody in the gang is solid like that. Not all of them are real fighters. Not all of them got hands. It's a mix of different people, you know, and some people, they do join out of weakness. So when you catch them by themselves and you know you got hands, you can whoop them. But, you know, sometimes it just takes knowing that you already won the battle. And I hate to sound like G.I. Joe, but you already won the battle knowing that. Like, without his gang.
Me personally, like I said, I bang with I got a lot of people that's in gangs, you know, around me and stuff like that. And I don't knock it because, like I said, you know, whatever is best for you. I'm on the East Coast, so I didn't come from a gang. So I don't really know about the lifestyle like that. I just got a lot of friends around me. That's Crips, that's Bloods, that's MS-13s, that's Vice Lords. So, you know, far as that, I support whatever they're doing. You know, if it's a brotherhood and it's going to build you up, you know, support.
There's definitely positive aspects to some gangs, you know what I'm saying? Like if you look at like 4 Extra, right? And the love and respect that he has for just his hood and the people from his hood, you can almost feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's genuine. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think things might get messed up when when it turns criminal. You feel me?
Personally, I fuck with 4 Extras. I like that nigga energy. You know, I feel like he really pressing these niggas. And, you know, I never met him or never spoke to him, but, you know, salute to that shit. Like I said, you definitely putting the West Coast on. You know, shout out to him and free him too, right?
Yep, because he recently got locked up as well. You're correct. You're correct. All right, now OG Poed up. I wanted to go somewhere else, man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a situation that's been going on social media and brewing between Luce Cannon, Whack 100, and Big Homie CC. Now, Big Homie CC is one of those guys who's gotten a lot of love in this hip hop space and in these blog spaces and on the interview platforms because of his compelling stories about being a bodyguard and stuff like that. Him, Luce Cannon, and Whack 100 have been battling, and they tried to expose some things they thought they could expose about Big Homie CC. And I don't know if it's true or not, but they all went back and forth. And then Big Homie CC exposed some things about Whack 100 and Luce Cannon that he felt like they weren't living up to the reputation that they put online, because he showed a video where he walked right by them and they didn't jump on him or do anything to him. So when it comes to this, and outside of your beef with Big Homie CC, what is your opinion, OG Poed up? I want to hear the whole story.
On Big Homie CC?
Yeah, the whole deal.
Personally, I don't like him. We got into some internet beef, and it's just really some internet beef that it could get squashed with Cam Capone. Because basically, I was going to do an interview with Cam Capone, but Big Homie CC was facilitating it. He took my $600. He told me he was going to give me an interview for $500. I told him it ain't even about the money, so I paid him $600 because I just want to keep the relationships with everybody, you know? And he basically like stole my money. And then I end up kind of getting dirt on him. And I found out a few things about him. And then allegedly is, he got videos on him and different things like this, doing weird things. So I can't respect it. Shout out to the LGBT community, but if you are not what you are, don't say that. He always saying everybody's a zest monster. I think he actually need to look in the mirror. That's what I think.
Whoa. Wait, well, maybe I missed this. Mm-hmm. So are you saying that Big Homie CC, who's been putting people out there for being like, however they live and let live? I'm not judging. Neither one of us are saying this in judgment. You're saying that there's actually some dirt about him like that?
Allegedly, someone sent me a video. It was just floating around on the internet. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy, because at one time I wanted to do business with him. But then after I seen that, I'm like, I can't really respect that if you're not coming out in your truth. Be who you are. That's my thing. If you are what you are, can't nobody take that away from you.
Facts. That is facts. Yeah, you got to stand on it, man. Whoever you are, you got to stand on that, man. And that's just that has nothing to do with hip hop. That has nothing to do with music. That's just being a man. You know what I'm saying? You got to stand on who you are, and people will respect you, especially when you put it out there. But I'm not trying to assume anything that I haven't seen for myself. But
I'm gonna say allegedly because I wasn't in there, so I can't tell you what really went on. I'm just hearing the rumors like everybody else and seeing what's going around, and it's like him and Cam Capone is trying to blackball me. They scared for me to talk about it.
Now, what did you see though? Like, what exactly did you see?
It was it wasn't pretty, man. That's all I'm gonna say, man. It's some nasty work. That's all I'm gonna say. Some nasty work floating around on them.
Whoa. Wow. That's crazy.
Me personally, if I had some, allegations on me, I'm gonna come out and talk about it. Because if I'm not that, then a lot of things on Clubhouse. I don't know if you heard what's going on with Luce saying things, with Whack 100 saying things about him too, and it's like it's more than one person now, and now the world is saying things. You can check the comments on the videos he uploaded.
Now I did see this. I saw him, Whack 100, and Luce Cannon get on Real Life Street Stars, and they had it out, or it was either Real Life Street Stars or some platform, and they had it out, right? And they were kind of like how we're meeting right here, and they had it out, and I listened to the whole thing, and I went back to listen to some more parts because that's my job. I watch everything, I listen to everything, right? And they did kind of, I don't know, find some kinks in his armor in some of his stories, because one of his friends got on there after he jumped off, because he kept jumping on and off. And one of his friends got on there and was like talking about, these rescue missions and stuff that he says that he does or whatnot, and kind of drilled some holes in that. Now, I don't know if he's lying or not, but what I will say is he didn't come off strong in that argument or that situation against Whack 100 and Luce Cannon. They look like they won that argument.
Yeah, I'm saying this: when a person is guilty, they're not going to speak about it. They're going to swipe it underneath the rug because it's sitting on their conscience. And like I said, I'm big into spirituality, so I can read a person in 1 second when I go in the room, and that's what I'm reading from him. Because if he wasn't worried about it, then he would talk about it, But that's enough talking about him, though,
Yeah,
Sure.
we could definitely leave that one alone because especially if it's any of those things that you're talking about, it gets dicey. And I'm so glad you didn't elaborate any, man, because I really probably don't want that to know.
Yeah. And believe it or not, like sometimes my mouth, I'm so raw that I get canceled. So a lot of people are trying to cancel me, So, but I can't get canceled, but they're trying to. So, you know what it is.
Yeah, nah, I get it. Now, I want to ask you a little bit more about your more artistic and alternative side. So, what's the whole deal with you and skateboarding?
So basically, right now I'm working on trying to get all my skateboards and zoomies. I just signed a $1.1 million deal. Um, I couldn't even believe it. Like I'm just checking my bank account, like, yo, this is crazy. Because I never in my life seen this much money, But because usually when I do offers for people, they pay me a large sum of money, but they're gonna keep all the money. And basically, I'm just glad to just even get an opportunity to just get all the war out here. Because I really come from nothing. I come from nothing at all.
Okay. Now, how long have you been pushing Art of War as a brand, and how long have you been pushing the skates?
Probably over 5 years.
Okay. Now, with that, what was your journey? What led you to go to skateboarding and trying to push clothing and things like that?
I was inspired by Pharrell. I was inspired by Ye. I actually worked with a few people in Ye team as well. Shout out Antonio Brown. Appreciate what you did for me as well. I just was inspired about the lifestyle because I know that if you want to build anything, you got to build a legacy. And I don't want to just be pinpointed in one direction. I want to be worldwide.
Definitely, man. Being worldwide is a big part of success, man. But you've got to be able to cultivate that culture around that. You know what I mean? Now, when you with your plan with your skateboards, like, have you already done things locally? Like, how long has this been a process?
It's been a large process. So basically, what made me, do Art of War, like I said, because I was at war myself. Like I was trying to find jobs. And I can never find a job, especially in Virginia. If you're not like military or shipyard, nobody's going to believe in your dream out here because it's not a lot of millionaires. It's a few of them, like I said, like the ones that you did name. But a lot of people going to say, just get a job. Just give it up because they don't see the vision, And sometimes it's only meant for you to see when you're down this road. That's it.
Nah, and that's true. So as you persevere and go through all this, what is your long-term plans?
I'm about to open up a shop. I'm probably gonna open that up in Tempe soon. I'm probably gonna open up a shop in Vegas. I'm looking at all that right now, and I want to actually have my shop that is actually dealing with horror, and then I'm gonna have a skate shop inside. So I'm gonna charge people admission, or you can pay monthly for subscription.
Okay, so you're in your shop. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a subscription-based business.
Yeah.
Nice.
So basically on a monthly charge. So you can actually charge people monthly to go skate.
Okay, nice.
Park inside. Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying because
Yeah.
now when it comes to a place like owning that, I would think, man, like have you weighed all the scales as far as like liability and people getting
Mm-hmm.
injured and stuff like that?
That's what I'm trying to work out now with my lawyers.
Now
So mm-hmm.
that's an interesting concept. Now, being in Scottsdale and in the Phoenix area or whatnot, what do you think about the hip hop scene there?
I definitely see they on the come up. A lot of people is migrating to Arizona. It's really nice out there as well. It's very peaceful, but you could take some back streets. You into something out there too in Phoenix. So I just feel like whoever just, if they need to hear this, just keep on going, never give up. Never give up.
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
And the Phoenix area, man, I that's one of the areas I actually like, man. Like
Mhm.
especially in the wintertime. I love anytime they have the Super Bowl. It's always a good time out there. But being there, you do feel like that, it's not a huge well, back when I used to go to Phoenix, didn't
Mhm.
used to feel like there was a huge hip hop presence. Has that
Mhm.
changed?
Yeah, because it's a lot of people migrating from, Nevada, California, Colorado. So they gentrifying a lot of things as well. Yeah.
Okay. Nah, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Mhm.
Now, next, I wanted to move on to another subject. Now, OG Poed up, you've been on Big Meech's heels. What's up with this, man? Ever since he got out of jail, or I should say prison, Big
Mhm.
Meech has been running into headline after headline. And it
Mhm.
seems that every step of the way, you've been kind of on his heels. So, what do you think about this whole Big Meech situation? And specifically, what's up with the outfits?
I hear a lot of people talking about it, but to me, like I said, I'm still a fan of Big Meech. I don't care if he snitched or not. The streets is dead. It's over with. It doesn't matter. Get your money. So, I mean, me personally, I feel like some of the outfits could be wearing him, but like I said, I support him, and anybody that's just black and is willing to do something, I give heads up to that. Shout out Big Meech.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it seemed like you were on his head, but maybe not, man.
Nah,
Okay. So in that
salute to
situation,
BMF. Nah, not nah.
now with that situation with him and 50 Cents, what was your take about that?
And that's from my videos. A lot of people thought I was on his heels. I just told him that I actually worked with Little Meech before. We was supposed to put something together for my brand Art of War. And he actually posted a few times too. So salute Little Meech. I really appreciate that. Thank you for just extending your hand out and your manager's hand out as well. Thank you. Um, that's how I feel about the situation. I
Okay.
think 50 Cent and him, I'm a fan of both of them, so it's kind of hard. Like I listen to 50 Cent all the time, I was a little kid, had the big G Unit chains on, the G Unit tank top. So, this was back in the day. So, I'm a fan of 50 Cent and I'm a fan of Big Meech. I just hope that they can come together and just work it out, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are hoping. And
Mhm.
it was a wonder that it even went there because why in the world would they be beefing in the first place? It just didn't make much sense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And, especially like 50 Cent seemed like he about his money. So as Big Meech, I just hate to see two people beefing when they could be making more money, because it's like beef is, it slows down money, you know,
Definitely. Beef puts money to a stop. You know what I mean?
for sure.
It feels like when it comes to these bigger artists at that level, they always find their way back to center, man.
For sure. I definitely think that. And like I said, I definitely shout out Lil Meech. He was one of like the first people I reached out to and I worked out. He was very humble, man. Like I could definitely see why everybody fans of BMF.
Okay. Nah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now, with that being said, what do you think of some of these hotter topics that's going on in hip hop right now? Like you've got different scenes that are bubbling, but as
Mhm.
far as social media is concerned,
Mhm.
there seems like a lot of beef too, man. So you've got the Dallas scene is going crazy right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like as the Dallas scene is starting to pick up, you got your Zillionaire Doge, you got all these guys who are coming out, Montana 700, you got Big X the Plug. You start to see a rising level of violence also on the street level. Maybe not the
Mhm.
biggest artists, but some of the guys that are being left behind or that are still trying to find their way up that ladder.
Mhm.
From your position and being a spiritual guy who tries to get people to become more famous through spirituality, what is
Mhm.
your take on these rising hip hop scenes and the rise in violence in hip hop?
I think personally, a lot of this is just sacrifices. That's what I think on a spiritual point to get to the next level.
So you truly believe that these are sacrifices, like people are being sacrificed?
I believe so. I can't go deep into it, because I don't want the people knocking on my door.
I
But
feel
yeah,
you.
that's what I think. I think a lot of it is just a lot of foul play and a lot of jealousy. A lot of people are jealous. If you don't, you know, actually fit the criteria, or if they feel like, hey, he's doing better than me, or this, people act like crybabies and they're jealous. And I think it's a lot of jealousy in that city. And it's just sad to me because I like Texas, and I support the movement. I listen to a few people like Go Yayo. I think he raw, and I like his energy because he's standing on what he's standing on. You can
Hmm.
tell when you meet him, he gonna be who he is. A lot of these guys, you meet them on the internet, and they really goofies off the internet, but on the internet they acting like they just the hardest guys.
Yeah, and some of that is a part of the industry. You got to play the game sometimes, but
Hmm.
but when you go a little overboard, it is a little off-putting. Where you're like, okay, this guy is really being somebody he is not. You know what I mean?
For sure, that's what I think. But like that scene, I think it's a lot of underplay, a lot of things going on that we can't really talk about. But that's what my aspects of it. I think it's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of things that's just supernatural going on.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the supernatural, where do you think that stops being a part of the process, and personal, accountability and people
Mhm.
doing what they can personally to strive and be successful takes over?
I mean, I personally think with that being supernatural, some deals that you sign, you obligated to do a few things. So, you have to do these things so your career to actually take off. If you don't, your career is going to stay stagnant or they're going to blackball you.
Hmm. So you feel like there's a situation where you have to, participate in certain things as far as your career is concerned, as
Yep.
opposed to, being having the choice.
That's what I think because it's a lot of Fed cases going around. Everybody getting a Fed case.
And I talked to King Yeller. I interview him a lot, and he
Hmm.
talked about that because his last case, he was in the feds, and he
Hmm.
was surprised because coming up, especially through the early 2000s, the 90s, the 2010s, or whatnot, you ain't going to the feds or getting a Fed case unless you was a big dog. Like they
Hmm.
caught you with the whole house full of whatever.
Hmm.
They've been building this case for years. You got guys going to getting Fed cases now because they got to switch. So now the feds are getting kind of watered down, and you have a lot of broke guys in the feds, which wasn't the case before. Used to be guys with money in the feds. So
Hmm.
now it's a weird situation where you got a lot of these rap cases or these cases involving rappers are getting federal attention. So do you think that's by design?
I think it's designed by the system. I think we're programmed and we don't even know we programmed.
How so?
Like the music that we listen in front of us, it's all spells, you know? Even like all the symbolic things around us, you can actually see like actual like the numerology. Like some people only drop music on certain days because of the numerology, because it's good
Oh,
luck that day.
go ahead and expand on that. Like what days do you feel, or what do you mean?
You can actually look up dates. So like a lot of celebrities, when they do their tour on a date, they're gonna put it on a date that's actually a good date with numerology. A lot of rappers' name, if you go through the numerology and add up the numbers, it's their name.
Really?
Yup.
And now I've heard about numbers, and I've seen some TikTok videos and things with the guys breaking it down, but I couldn't grasp the subject and how
Mhm.
they're intertwined. So how do you feel like numerology plays a part in success in music?
It that's the only way because everything is on a spiritual level. Um, like I said, if you manifest it in the world, it's gonna come. But if you put negative energy out, whatever energy you put out is gonna come back at you. If you put negative energy, then you're gonna get negative energy. If you put positive energy, you're gonna get positive energy. You can't beat the universe.
I'm pretty sure you can't. You know what I'm saying? And that all sounds reasonable, to be honest with you, man. It
Hmm.
sounds like the way that things would work or should work.
It's
But
like,
when it
go ahead.
but when it comes to artists being successful, you feel like that's the only way they could be successful is by following that ideology, right?
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of people in the industry, so a lot of people don't believe it, but hey, it's not meant for me to be here to, awaken everybody's eyes. A lot of people that you see are just asleep.
Yeah,
You don't know what's going on.
now I do feel like in life there are points where the spirit where your religion or your beliefs
Mhm.
do affect, and your sense of belief do affect what you do and how you operate as a person and an individual, either for the positive or for the negative. Now, when it comes to the music industry, there's always been the standard that there's
Mhm.
been some sort of, guys in the background
Mhm.
pulling strings and operating as far as like, the dark arts and dark magic. I don't know if
Mhm.
I believe that as much, but
Mhm.
from what you're saying, you're 100% on board and
I'm
believe in
hundred
that
percent
shit.
on board. Like I said, Art of War, it's a brand, but it's a cult too. So, that's all I'm saying. If you
Interesting.
tapped in, you tapped in.
Okay, that's interesting, man, because when it comes to different people making their way in the music industry, you have different types of stories that come from with people that come from different backgrounds. But they say, there's that clip of Nori. He said, in order to get to a certain level, you got to do certain things.
Exactly. You
Now,
got to
what
do
are
the forbidden.
now from your expertise and your belief, what do you think those things are?
You got to give up your religion. A lot of guys give up their manhood. You got to give up your soul. You got to be basically a puppet to the industry. A lot of them guys don't even sleep when they on tour. When I was on tour, a lot of these guys, they didn't even sleep. They slept for 2 hours and they back practicing again. Basically puppets, industry puppets.
That's crazy, man. Now, why would somebody volunteer to give up their manhood?
For a lot of money. A lot of money. That's why a lot of people do it.
But it ain't like you can take the money with you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you
Yeah.
only need enough money to survive and get. I mean, I guess not. I live a very low key lifestyle. I'm not one of them big balling dudes like that or whatever. So I
Mhm.
can't understand. Maybe there's a point where you get there and they feel like they can't live without that. But man, how many times do you feel like you've seen somebody actually give up everything to gain more?
All the time.
Man,
All the time. I see it all the time. Like, I ain't gonna say a name, but I had a friend around me that he signed a big deal, and he was working a lot of people in the industry. He was doing a lot of satanic things, what they would say, but he was doing rituals to get to the next level. Because I was actually with him, and I was helping him facilitate it, but he could never shake it. At night he would just wake up and say the demons are getting him, and because you're gonna get spiritually attacked when you're messing with magic.
that's crazy, man. So he would feel like the demons were attacking him?
For sure. He can never
Yeah.
shake it. He could never shake it. Like, he could never shake it. He was never normal again.
Now, why would anybody sign up for that?
For the money, for fame. Woody, a lot of people can't work a job. A lot of people got a face card where a lot of people know them in their city. Like me, I got a face card, so I couldn't work in my city regardless. But a lot of people do it for the money, man. The strange things.
That's wild, man.
Hmm.
Especially if money got you to the point where you out here doing seances, you know what I'm saying, just to get,
Hmm.
like that's pretty extreme, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I said, I do. I'm into voodoo and all that stuff. So I do a lot of animal sacrifices with celebrities, cutting off heads of the goats, chickens. Some people drinking their blood. Doing rituals with their blood. I don't know if you seen earlier what I did on my forehead. That was a ritual just now. I don't think you caught it.
Yeah, I might have missed it, but we'll catch it on the playback, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Now when it comes to like on your IG page, you have a lot of that. Now, a lot
Mhm.
of that stuff, is that for the purpose of somebody being successful?
Yeah, because it's my religion. So when you sacrifice things, you become more successful in life.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting, man.
Hmm.
Ah, that's wild, man. Now I've heard a lot of things, you know what I mean, doing this hip hop stuff for a
Hmm.
second here. But that is a wild one, man. I must say that is pretty wild, man.
Yeah, especially when I'm on tour with a lot of like celebrities at that. When they're actually performing, they'll have the actual stage set up as a ring with the red lights, like they're in hell, and they'll be actually doing spells actually into the crowds, and they'll hypnotize the crowds.
Now there've been I've seen videos like that on social media where people say it creates this vortex and then all the souls go. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. Now you truly, and I don't want to offend your religion at all. I believe in a religious freedom for everybody. However you practice, whatever you practice, as long as it makes you feel good and doesn't hurt anybody, it's cool with me, right? But
Yeah,
do you believe a lot of those things, those hip hop rumors?
man, I'm seeing it. It's not me really believing it. It's just me facilitating it. I'm a celebrity warlock, so this is what I do. I'm the middleman. I get it done. If they want fame, they come to me. If they want to sell their soul, they come to me, and I just facilitate it.
Interesting, man. Yeah, that's wild, man. Now,
Hmm.
how long have you been doing that per se?
For about 3 years.
3 years?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, when it comes to like your artists that you see blowing up recently, that
Hmm.
rise and shine in this entertainment industry, be it in movies, be it
Hmm.
in music, what
Hmm.
percentage of those people would you say you feel like gave up their soul or sold their soul?
90%.
90%. So what about the 10% that don't? Like what happens to them?
They're gonna be in this. They're not gonna be in the industry. You're not really gonna see them getting pushed. They're going to be like, on, platforms and, little platforms, but you're never going to see them on like a big platform with millions of subscribers and them getting big $100 million deals. Because for
Wow.
$100 million deals, there's sacrifices you got to do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying that there is no way around it. That's the road that you have to take.
I mean, from that's what I see, but someone can show me something different to show me.
All right. Now, I wish I had more expertise and
Hmm.
knowledge. All I can go off of is the rumors out there and the things that we've seen. But what's even crazier is, man, you got a lot of people who are really coming to push that narrative and push those words out there, man.
Yeah, because the time you don't do what they want you to do, the system, they're gonna take you down. They're gonna put some false allegations on you, or they're gonna say something, or they just gonna take all your money away, and they just gonna kill your image. That's all they're gonna do. They got
Now,
all these
okay,
artists young dying, all these rappers young dying. They ain't even get to see 40 years old. They looking like, yo, that's old. We like, I want to live till I'm old. So I'm like, I don't know what to say.
now I want to ask you about this. So, say like a situation we have going on today with Shannon Sharp.
Hmm.
He's on the verge of getting $100 million deal, and all of a sudden, all these allegations and things come out. Do you think that plays a part into that?
Hey, you know what I'm gonna say? They out to get him, man.
Ah, wow,
As soon
wow.
as you got to sign a deal, that's just crazy that you got allegations coming towards you. People always, when you're trying to step up and be successful, people is always trying to take you out. Because if you get too powerful or have a voice, they'll take you out. Even like look at Ye, what they trying to do with him.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like a slippery slope, man. It's an interesting time, man, in hip hop. And with social media, with the rumor mills, with the blogs, with the videos and things, it's a self-feeding system, man. And we get a lot of interesting content. And I gotta say, OG Poed Up,
Mhm.
today you've talked about some interesting topics and man, talked about some real unique takes on the entertainment industry. But
Mhm.
it wouldn't be right unless I gave you the opportunity to shout out everything that you got going in the future and anything that you got coming up. If you got a Tubi movie dropping, if
Mhm.
you got music dropping, anything, man. OG Poed Up, the floor is yours.
Definitely follow me on my Instagram, OG Poed Up. Definitely follow everything that I got going on. Get me out there more so I can get more exposure. Definitely check out my website, www.artofwar.com. I'm going to have actually skateboards up there, weed strains. I'm working on getting that in dispensaries, t-shirts. I'm putting a big budget behind that. Y'all definitely gonna see me in the future again for sure.
That's what's up. Yeah, I can tell, man. Sometimes you can just tell when somebody's going to be around this for a while. And I know as you grow and get bigger and bigger, and you're already growing super fast on these platforms, man, people are going to be hearing a lot more from you in the future.
Definitely, man. We definitely locked in with it. And if
That's
you
what's
need
up.
anything done, you already know. I know how
That's
to hex people. So if you got any issues, you holler at me. I got you.
I think that's funny, man. I think I'm good, man. I think I'm good, man. But with that, man, I appreciate you coming out, man, and sharing your story on my platform, man. And I can't wait to get and lock in with you on different topics and hot topics later in the future.
Definitely. We locked in with it. You already know.
And we out this thing. Peace.
Peace.